Welcome back to Good Neighbors Homestead. About the only cookie that is more well-known and iconic than the Oreo is the chocolate chip. Most of us have fond memories of warm chocolate chip cookies baking in the kitchen from when we were kids. Our original double chocolate butterscotch cookie is taking the traditional chocolate chip, adding a few extra things to make something that's truly special.
These cookies actually came about after I'd spent a few years really diving into baking and cookies and really kind of practicing with different flavors and how they all work together. That combined with a little bit of an accident, uh, kind of started the process that led us here. So it really started with just trying to make good chocolate chip cookies. Found a good recipe in a bake or a cookbook that I liked. And then there was one for a double chocolate chip cookie. Who doesn't like double chocolate chip cookies? Right? More chocolate is always good. But as I started to make it and I got through it, I made the one mistake that I made a lot, and that I think a lot of us make when we first start baking. So we don't check to make sure if we have enough ingredients before we start. And in this situation, we didn't have enough chocolate chips. So I had overestimated and didn't have as many as I thought. But what we did have were butterscotch chips. And so decided that instead of doing all chocolate chips, we're just going to go half and half. We'll do half chocolate, half butterscotch. And it actually turned out really good.
Yeah, amazing.
So after that, it was just, okay, what else can we add to this? How else can we kind of take this to the next level? Try to balance out the sweetness a little bit of all that extra sugar, and a couple more practice runs, and then we got them. What makes these so special? Well, like with a lot of things that we make in our kitchen here, I use black cocoa powder because, again, I really like the depth. I like the color. Just that extra it adds a little bitterness, which helps to balance out the sweet from all the chocolate and the butterscotch. So the other thing that sets these apart is the butterscotch chips. So the chocolate chips that I like to use are more of a dark chocolate, so there's less of the sugar, less of the sweetness. And so the butterscotch adds a little bit of that sweetness to balance out the bitterness, which works really well. The final thing, and the one that really kind of took them over the top, was adding a bit of cinnamon. And the cinnamon gives it depth. It kind of brings everything together, gives it all a nice underlayer, and just really kind of harmonizes all of it together.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of cinnamon, but it's just enough that you can get a very light undertone of it that, like you said, really balances the rest of the flavors out. So the flavor with these cookies is really rich. It's very decadent, but because of the ingredients that he's chosen, they're actually really well balanced. So the double chocolate butterscotch sounds intense, and it sounds like a lot, and it sounds like it's going to be really sweet. But because we're using the black cocoa powder, which is going to be more bitter because he uses a dark chocolate chip, which is, again, a little bit more bitter, it helps to balance out any of the sugar and the sweetness from the butterscotch chips. So it doesn't actually end up punching you in the face with sugar, and it ends up being really well balanced.
And really, when we think about what makes those chocolate chip cookies that I think a lot of us grew up eating, the ones that I remember that my grandmother used to make, was exactly that. They weren't overly sweet.
Right.
They were a little sweet. They were a little salty. They were a little crunchy. It was just kind of that beautiful combination of all of those things together. And these cookies end up very similar. They're very much like the cookies we all experienced and ate growing up. They're just a bit more refined and a bit more intense and a bit more going on there.
So this is actually the first recipe that Wes kind of fully developed himself. Cookies, let us know down in the comments below. And while you're there, let us know if you'd be interested in seeing a little bit more behind the scenes of how we make these cookies, let us know down in the comments below. And while you're there, let us know what's your favorite cookie, because everybody's got one. As always, thanks for stopping at Good Neighbors Homestead, and we'll see you soon. Really special.
Really special. I'm just over here in the peanut gallery waiting for you to start. Yes. Themselves are really nice because what? Okay.